This woman is desperate for money and is prepared to do pretty much anything to get it. I mean, this is the last resort of the D-list celebrity, can't get on television anymore. So they start selling themselves. It's classic. They start selling access to themselves. They'll record a message. For next thing, she'll be recording birthday messages. This is rock bottom. What on earth is going on?
To Recollections May Vary, a royal recap. I'm Kinsey Schofield here with Kevin O'Sullivan, host of Drive on Talk. You watch us together every Monday and Thursday. And Kev, we have some breaking news today that I know is really going to, what's the word? Inspire you. Unfortunately, I think you might be the wrong sex.
Shockwaves around the world. It's an astonishing revelation in the
shockwaves around.
Yeah, go on.
Shockwaves around the world. Let's look at this this description of this new Meghan Markle event happening in Australia. It says her best life retreat with Meghan, Duchess of Sussex. It's happening Friday, April 17th. Through the 19th, a girls' weekend like no other, Kev, an unforgettable weekend for women ready to reconnect, recharge, and have some serious fun. Join us for an intimate luxury weekend by the ocean designed to bring women together for powerful conversations, relaxation, laughter, because I associate Meghan Markle with laughter. How about no? And unforgettable experiences. Okay, so let's see. What else does it say about her? Because I'm trying to see how they sell this. The highlight of the weekend will be an in-person conversation and gala dinner with Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, an intimate gala like no other. They like the word intimate here. Okay, here we go. Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, is a mother, wife, entrepreneur, and humanitarian, recognized by Time and Vogue as one of the world's most influential women. Maybe she was, but she ain't no mo. Meghan remains a dedicated champion of mental health. That's why she terrorizes the elderly and the rights of women and girls. That's why she's never spoken on the Jeffrey Epstein scandal. A Northwestern University, blah, 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 suit 7 years, blah, 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 while serving as a UN women's advocate and World Vision Global Ambassador. Since marrying Prince Harry and making herself relevant in 2018, she co-founded Archewell Philanthropies and Archewell Productions. We have no idea what Archewell Philanthropies does. Her media ventures include a record-breaking podcast, Archetypes.
But record-breaking for how briefly it was available. Record-breaking for how quickly it was axed. By the way, Kinsey, I'm just looking at the ticket options. Let's cut to the chase. For 2 days in the company of Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, it'll cost you $2,699. Or you can go... a twin share is $3,199 per person. I'm not sure if that's Australian dollars or American dollars, but either way, that's an expensive weekend just to spend it with the woman who can't seem to launch any business without it failing within weeks. Unbelievable. This is just desperate money making, isn't it? Yeah. If you want further proof, any more proof that the Sussexes, particularly Meghan, is in financial trouble, look no further than this. She's hawking herself for a cheapo weekend, or not a cheapo weekend, a cheap sounding weekend at very high prices.
Yeah.
Come and spend 5 minutes with Meghan. It'll cost you more than $3,000.
I'd rather pay my rent. I'd rather pay my rent than listen to this woman talk her dribble. Her, what do we call it? Word salad. But I do love that.
Word salad, yeah.
I love that they do acknowledged her 2025 globally celebrated Netflix series With Love, Meghan, a New York Times bestselling author. She also founded the lifestyle brand As Ever, inspired by her love language, thoughtful, inspired hospitality, hosting, and gift giving. She resides with her husband, Prince Harry, and their children. And then she calls her children Prince and Princess. Vomit. Across the weekend, you'll also enjoy a powerful psychology session. No, thank you. I mean, honestly, you need a psychology session if you're willing to spend that much money to be in the presence of Meghan Markle.
Yeah, this just screams one thing. This woman is desperate for money and is prepared to do pretty much anything to get it. I mean, this is the last resort of the D-list celebrity. Can't get on television anymore, so they start selling themselves. It's classic. They start selling access to themselves. They'll record a message. For next thing, she'll be recording birthday messages
on Cameo. I'm on Cameo, so I shouldn't say so.
But exactly, that's what it is. This is rock bottom. What on earth is going on? And of course, this is going to be a part of their next pretend royal tour when they go to Australia in the summer. These pretend royal tours, the Foreign Office here in London are furious with her. The government's furious with them. They get in the way of what the royal family are supposed to do, which is serious diplomatic work. You can't have these two going around the world pretending that they're the king and queen, just freelancing while pretending that somehow or other these are official tours. They only just missed the Middle Eastern war when they went to Jordan a couple of weeks ago, proving how irresponsible that was. People can't still work out why they went to Colombia and Nigeria, but they did. And now they're going to Australia, where Meghan is going to hawk herself, for money, spend a couple of minutes with me at an Australian retreat, and I'll bank the money. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Well, I also think it tells us that because we had predicted Prince Harry would do something more along the lines of this for years. We've said Harry's going to have to be the motivational speaker. Harry's going to have to be like I look how I suffered, look where I am today guy. And unfortunately, he would just go to a Toronto real estate convention and talk about the death of his mother. And people were like, well, how does that relate to what we're here to discuss? So is this Harry failing again? And Meghan
Never
has
mind
to pick
selling houses. Did I tell you about my mother?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you didn't. And please don't. Honestly, these two are turning into a tawdry soap opera. We're learning of this. We literally learned of this horrible sounding weekend where she's selling her backside, access to me for money. Simple as that. We learn of this just a couple of days after we found out that Netflix have washed their hands of her, and will no longer be helping her fail in that ridiculous endeavor as ever. I noticed that every time something bad happens to her in her business world, which is like all the time, nothing ever works. It always goes wrong. And every time, she's dumped by Spotify, nobody watches Meghan with Love. Netflix axed it. Now Netflix have axed their relationship with As Ever. She always spins it as if it's some kind of triumph.
Some kind of win, yeah.
Yeah, so she said about, it's time for As Ever to go it alone. The business growth has been amazing. Thank you very much to Netflix, but we're ready to conquer the world. And she's let it be known also that she, in fact, severed ties with Netflix. She hasn't actually said this, but it's been filtered through the usual gossip sources. Sussex sources, that she, in fact, it was her that instigated the break from Netflix because she felt they were
holding her back.
They were holding her back. They were too cautious. She wanted to go global, and they were cautious about that. And therefore, she can't have Netflix dragging her down anymore. She's got to break out and realize the massive potential of this business. What Netflix clearly decided is, A, with Love, Meghan, there's no point in us being involved in As Ever. B, my instinct, my sense is that Netflix realized there's no money in this business. There's no point in us being involved in as ever. And C, and this is the big one, she's going, we're going to go global, got to go global. Going global with food products is incredibly complicated. You can't just say, I've got these dried flowers and I've got this cookie dough and I've got this pretend scam jam and I'm going to send it to England or I'm going to send it to France, Australia. You can't do that. They've all got their different food regulations. Distributing food products around the world is incredibly complicated and incredibly expensive. And Netflix would have said, no way are we going down this road. But she says she's going to do it. I'll tell you, she won't be going global with As Ever because she won't be able to afford it. She'll realize how difficult it is. And maybe, just maybe, it will dawn on her that since it's fairly clear she hasn't made very much money from As Ever in America, there's hardly any point in going global with something that people don't particularly want. You know, I read somewhere that, you know, sources told Page Six, you know, the New York Post gossip column, that she's made $36 million from her jam.
LOL.
Oh, yeah, really?
$36 million means you're not giving access to randoms in Australia.
Yeah, no, exactly right, Kinsey. Exactly. If she's made $36 million from her jam alone, she doesn't need to be selling herself at stupid weekends in Australia, does she? She's desperate for cash and she's not making any from As Ever. I'll tell you, how many times have I said this to you, but that business is not going to last.
It's a joke, yeah. And there are, on the opposite end, there are people that work within Netflix talking to the Daily Mail saying no one cares about Meghan. That's why Netflix disconnected with Meghan. That's why they cut ties with her, because there was no interest in owning product, her jam, her flower sprinkles, and that no one was devastated by the decision to let her go, to distance themselves. So
I think they were devastated, Kinsey. I think they were extremely relieved.
Oh yeah.
It's like, let's get this woman out of our lives. I mean, seriously, you know, both of those series of With Love, Meghan were disasters. The holiday special
we loved the holiday special because the holiday special was the exclamation point to her father ending up in a hospital. And I mean, is that not karmic that Meghan Markle is going to go do a Christmas special and talk about how important family is? And the world was so mad at her for not acknowledging her father that she literally has to acknowledge her father because she knows it makes her Christmas special look bad.
Exactly right. I mean, but the trouble with the Christmas special is it was even more unwatchable than both series. I mean, it was absolutely dreadful. And I think when the Netflix executives saw that, they just said, "There's no future in this woman." I mean, you know, you remember the reviews of both series and the holiday special. I did some myself. I mean, it was a dream for a critic because it was just so unrelentingly dreary, crass, cliched, awful. It had the lot. It was the perfect storm of television awfulness. It really was. And Netflix must have thought, go away and don't bother us anymore. And by the way, as ever, you're welcome to it. We don't want to be involved. Simple as that.
So what I think is so funny about that teaser that Meghan's camp wrote, where they're bragging about all of her wins in life, is that it's also featured on this list we're about to go into of Meghan and Harry's greatest failures since stepping down as working members of the British royal family.
How long we got with Kinsey? This is going to be about 5 hours, isn't it?
Exactly. But you hear like the bench. They're like, the bench was a fail. And there's Meghan Markle. I am a New York Times best-selling author.
She got a $70,000 advance for that. And I believe, if I remember rightly, and it was inspired It's supposed to be a mother's take on a father's love for his child. And it was a poem by her. And I seem to remember there was something like, there were a few, pretty crappy little pictures in it. But basically, I think it had about 61 words in it. So 61 words, $70,000. It struggled to make the top 100.
Can we talk? We need to have a moment of clarity right now.
Yeah.
If Meghan was teaching a weekend seminar on how to grift, how to scam Spotify and pay in Random House, you and I would be first in line. If Meghan Markle was teaching a weekend on how to secure a stupid prince, I would pay $3,000. I would be eating that up. But Meghan, in her pursuit of joy, I'm not buying it. No way.
Yeah, exactly right. Women involved in important conversations in the pursuit of wealth, joy, and happiness. No, thank you, Meghan. But you're exactly right, Kinsey. If she put on a weekend on how to grift, how to con big companies into giving you hundreds of millions of dollars, and how to snare a dumb prince, then I'm there, because she's good at that stuff.
Yeah. We've actually seen that. Okay, so let's go into some of those projects. And again, this is a list compiled by Page Six, Meghan Markle and Prince Harry's biggest business flops since royal exit. And like you said, we could be here all day, so put your seatbelt on. So The Bench, it says one of Meghan's first business flops after she and Harry stepped down as senior royals. It was published in June 2021. The picture book, which explored the special relationship between father and son, as seen through the mother's eyes, because it's always about Meghan, began as a poem Meghan wrote for Harry on Father's Day after the birth of Archie in May 2019. By the way, these people want privacy. So that's why we get to read Meghan's poem to Prince Harry for Father's Day. That's why she published it, because they love privacy.
Very private, keeping it secret.
It failed to crack the UK's top 50. And you're right about that $700,000 advance. God love them. Spotify is just one of the greatest disappointments professionally that they have to have, because not only, and here's the thing, Kev, they have some sort of magic touch, because all of these big corporations agree to give them a kind send-off. But one person didn't get the memo. That was Bill Simmons. But with both Netflix and Spotify, we saw the nice, this is a mutual decision. We wish Meghan Markle the best. But then Bill Simmons made the mistake of going on his own highly, highly successful podcast and saying, I wish I could have been a part of the negotiations. Get me drunk one day. I'm going to tell you the story about how I was trying to help Prince Harry with ideas. Effing grifters.
Yeah. I mean, he said that he wasn't going to say anything bad, but then he did. I mean, that quote has really, really stuck. He said they were lazy and they were effing grifters. What did Spotify get out of this? One series of Archetypes, that dreadful podcast. It's like I said to you a million times before, Kinsey. The problem with Meghan is she has, she's trying to be in the media business. And in the media business, you have to understand people. You have to understand what interests people, what you can bring them into your world and sell them stuff to. You have to interest them. She has no idea about that. Does she really think there's millions of people around the world? I mean, we're not talking about Archetypes now, but that was boring enough. But when she made Confessions of a Female Founder for Lemonada, does she really think there are millions of people? If you go around the bars of America and the pubs of Britain right now, do you think they're all in the pub? Do you know what really fascinates me is female tycoon, female businesswomen and how they succeed. I wish someone would do a podcast on that. Nobody gives a flying damn.
They
really don't. You thought I was going to say something else then, didn't you? And the same deal for Archetypes, examining a stereotypical image of woman, the diva, the schemer, and so on and so forth. And what little interest there might be in her feeble, uninteresting ideas, what little interest there might be, she kills off by being the world's worst interviewer and the world's most boring talker, who, by the way, doesn't interview her subjects. She makes them sit there while she lectures them about herself. Mm-hmm. It's just awful. Archetypes broke new ground in tedium. I didn't think I would ever come across a more boring podcast, but then along came Confessions of a Female Founder. What have these two dreadful podcast series got in common? They were both axed after one series. Well done, Meghan.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
Also, like with the Confessions of a Female Founder, I think that I would take that more seriously if it was coming from a successful female founder. But at that point, all Meghan had done was marry a man.
Yeah. I think you're absolutely right. I'm probably being a bit unkind about the topic there. If you get someone who's really good at something, for example, a successful tycoon, business person, or a lawyer or an actor, to actually talk about, their skills and the secret of their success, that could be kind of interesting, but you need exactly the right interviewer. The trouble with Meghan as an interviewer is she's got no interest in the person she's interviewing. They're just a foil for her to talk about herself. So that's another reason. So she has a very bad radar for what will be popular, what might work, what people will be interested in. So that's one area where she's really, really terrible. And then she makes it even worse by not having the faintest clue how to interview people, and thinking it's all about her. But then again, that's the slogan for her entire life, isn't it?
Me.
It's all about Meghan, yeah.
What I think is interesting is just the audacity to lie and to try to convert these losses into a win. If I had a podcast that I'd humiliatingly lost, I wouldn't have it on my resume. I wouldn't have it on my bio. She still will bring it up today that she beat Joe Rogan. You beat Joe Rogan week 1. You beat Joe Rogan because people like Kevin and Kinsey had to listen to your podcast because it's their job. They were paid to do it. But that morbid curiosity across the world erased quickly. And she had 1 or 2 good weeks, but everything else bombed. And the fact that she still tries to use it as a point of success or as a pillar, it tells me, like, I shouldn't say this out loud, Kevin, but sometimes I wonder if we're dealing with mental illness.
Well, she's certainly, in my view, pathologically narcissistic. To the point of psychopathy, almost. I think she's psychopathically self-obsessed.
Yeah.
And that raises all sorts of problems. Again, she can't see outside of her own bubble. Everything is all about her. So she doesn't really understand other people. And if you're in the media business and you're trying to make money out of the media, the secret is understand other people, understand what interests them, understand what makes them tick, understand their worries, their fears, their desires, and work on that, and you will be a success.
It's interesting how much attention we pay to what we eat, but not always what we put on our skin. Your skin absorbs what you apply to it every single day. And many popular lotions, even the ones labeled natural, contain long ingredient lists filled with additives and synthetic components. That's why more people are looking for simpler alternatives with recognizable ingredients. Cow's own Tallow Balm is made from grass-fed beef tallow and a short, straightforward list of ingredients, no fillers, no seed oils, no unnecessary additives, just traditional components that have been used for generations. Before modern skincare became oh so complicated, tallow was commonly used because of how well it works with the skin. Its composition is similar to the skin's natural oils, allowing it to absorb easily while providing deep moisture without feeling overly greasy. Cow's own is artisan made and rancher owned in Texas. I'm a Texan. Return to simple, time-tested skincare. So go to cowguys.com to get your bottle and receive a second one for free. No special code needed. That's up to 6 to 8 months of moisturizer for $34. Again, that's calguys.com. You'll thank me later.
Going back to the skills that she does have that she doesn't like to talk about. I mean, she's good at the fame game. She always was good at that, as you say, tipping off paparazzi about where she's going to be, pursuing a prince to make herself even more famous. And I think she always imagined, and there's some justification in this kind of line of thinking. She always imagined, all I have to do is get very famous, and then I'll make a lot of money. Well, I think what she's discovering is you can be very famous, but you don't necessarily make a lot of money. You and I talked about this the other day on my show, Drive, 4 to 7 p.m. at English time every day, Monday to Friday on Talk TV. Don't miss it. But we talked about this the other day, that Ted Sarandos, the very talented chief executive of Netflix, got this wrong. He just kept looking at these enormous numbers that she generates on YouTube and social media, and he thought there must be money in this woman. There is such fascination with her around the world.
There is. Call Kevin and Kinsey. More people would watch us than watch her.
But she is not, globally popular. No. She's globally unpopular. So millions of people are fascinated with her. But that doesn't mean they like her. And they're not about to go and buy jam or scam jam and dried flowers and cookie dough in astronomical prices just because it's endorsed by someone they don't like. Right. Meghan, it's ridiculous. So Ted Sarandos found out that Meghan's kind of fame is not a passport to millions of bucks. In fact, it's not a passport to any bucks. Hence the parting of the way now between Netflix and Meghan Markle.
And you know what? I'm fascinated with 90 Day Fiancé. Like, I will watch 90 Day Fiancé all day, every day. The last episode, this woman falls in love with this guy who reached out to her on Instagram or something. And like one of the first nights they spend together, she pooped the bed. Now, I'm fascinated by this character, Kevin. Kevin, I'm obsessed with this woman. I will watch every clip that features this woman. But if she tried to sell,
that's based on her, would you?
I would not buy a damn thing from this lady. But it's like again, my point is Meghan Markle is a car crash. And we watch her because we just cannot believe that she's making such poor decisions. We don't understand the way she talks. When she talks about how her and Harry are the two palm trees in the back holding hands, the people danced in the street when they got married, like they danced when Nelson Mandela was freed from prison. I mean, it's just so bizarre. Yes, we're watching, but it is a morbid curiosity that does not translate to a commitment. It doesn't translate to a relationship that, like, I'm not worried about if she wins or loses, and I'm certainly not going to contribute. You know what I mean?
I'll tell you, well, no, you're exactly right. I mean, people will not invest in people they don't like, and people don't like Meghan. We talked about this before, but, people like Dolly Parton, Brad Pitt, Kylie Minogue, all these people make very nice money, big money out of the products that they sell, mostly rosé wine, one of the products that Meghan sells. And that's because they're popular, because people like them. They don't like Meghan, therefore they're not buying her stuff. And, she's saying, oh, as ever is now ready to go global. It's so wonderful to go alone. Stop spinning your disasters, Meghan. You do it every time, every single time.
And it makes the public that aren't as invested in her, it makes them lose trust, I think, in her, because they know enough.
That's a really good point. I think over the years, they've come to see this time and time again. A palpable disaster, sacked by Spotify, dropped by Netflix, the useless pretend royal tours, and then they go, this was a disaster, and then you got Meghan go, this is fantastic. It's exactly what I wanted, everything that I wanted.
Everything's turning out rosy.
Yeah, and I think that I'm really interested in this story that you just found, this Australian weekend, because I think that is the surest sign yet that Meghan, and by extension Harry, have got big financial problems. I mean, they've got enormous outgoings. Where is the income right now? Where is the
and you what you said earlier, and we've kind of moved on quickly, but I had made a mental note to mention this when you were talking about that desperation, and I think you might have even said cash for access, which made me smile because that's what the royals always get in trouble for. This is what we're dealing with Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. This is why King Charles needs to strip Harry and Meghan of their titles. They have to be these people are clearly desperate for money. We've seen in the past that they don't do their due diligence. They align themselves with questionable people, and the list goes on and on. Ellen DeGeneres bully allegations. Tyler Perry is going to civil court for two sexual harassment assault allegations. Oprah Winfrey's into some weird stuff. I mean, they go where they think they can get something versus sitting back and going, what will be the consequences of this relationship? And I think that Andrew and Fergie are notorious for that. I think we see a lot of Meghan or a lot of Fergie in Meghan. And if I were King Charles, I'd nip it in the bud so that poor Prince William doesn't have to deal with this down the line.
Yeah, no, I think you talk about Fergie and Andy there. There's the connection between Meghan and Fergie in particular, and of course between Harry and his cousins, Princesses Eugenie and Beatrice, is going to be a big problem for the Sussexes moving forward, because the princesses, Beatrice and Eugenie, are already completely cut off by the royal family. And I think it won't be long before their princess titles might be removed, because they're mentioned hundreds of times in the Epstein files. And new emails, which were revealed just this past weekend, have disclosed that Andrew did a deal with a financier friend of his. And as a sweetener, he got that financier friend to give the girls £100,000, English pounds. And this is in an email. So those two have become almost as toxic as their parents. Harry was close to them. I think Meghan's persuaded him to cut them off. But I think that the B and Eugenie connection for Harry, and indeed Meghan, who embraced them as friends as well, might prove to be a problem fairly soon, but maybe not as much as a problem as that book that Sarah Ferguson is going to write.
Inevitably, she will write that.
Newspapers, I'm sure they were in the States as well, but over the weekend here, the newspapers are full of Fergie gets turned down by every publishing company that doesn't want to be connected with her cashing in on the Epstein files. Let me tell you, there's going to be a publishing company that will be perfectly comfortable with cashing in on the Epstein files.
You know how we know that's not true? Do you know how we know that's not true? It's called O.J. Simpson, I Did It. If I Did It. Wasn't it If I Did It? O.J. Simpson, If I Did It.
There will be a publishing company that will give Sarah Ferguson a lot of money to dish the dirt on all the royal family, but especially Meghan. Because when Meghan was first going out with Harry, back in 2016, she came over to London to go on dates with him and all that. And Fergie took her under her wing, showed her the royal ropes. And we are told that Meghan, in her naivety, confided everything to Sarah Ferguson, who would be number one on my list of people that I wouldn't confide a single damn thing in. She will sling the dirt like no one has ever done before. That book's going to come out, and that will be very bad news for Meghan Markle.
Well, let's look at some of these other. I'll do this quickly. I'm sorry I've kept you for as long as I have, but you're just such a good guest. American Riviera Orchard / as ever / Runny Jam 2025. I'm glad that they put all of that together. So we literally talked about American Riviera Orchard for a year. And then Meghan pops up on Instagram and she was like, surprise, I couldn't get the trademark. She never admits that, but she's like, surprise, I just decided to go in a different direction. This was another fail. Meghan could not secure the trademark to American Riviera Orchard. So she goes with As Ever, angers multiple other companies with the As Ever name. Photography, wardrobe, other companies had this name. And then there is an important mention here because, you know, her hero project, I learned recently that that's what this is called, was supposed to be jam. That was what she made for all her friends and family. But they couldn't quite do it in whatever factory, wherever, that's making this product for her. So basically, it is loose fruit spread. Like you can't call it jam based on what it is. Scam jam. That's true. It's scam jam. Do you ever sit and think about American Riviera Orchard? Do you ever?
My prevailing thought about American Riviera Orchards. Funny to be saying it again. Well, you and I used to have those chats on my show. And I remember I used to say to you, I used to say time and time, I'll tell you, Kinsey, I'll tell you, American Riviera Orchard will never get off the ground. It will never start. And sure enough, it didn't. But she just changed the name and now has encountered all the problems that we always knew that she would. I mean, I'm still interested, to say the least, in that story just after Christmas, which in my view was probably 100% true, that the warehouse is full of 572,000 unsold As Ever products that she got ready for the holiday season, for Christmas, for people to give presents. Nobody bought them. You've experienced it yourself. I have too. If you order products from As Ever, you'll be pretty lucky if you ever get them. So again, let me just run through why As Ever and/or American Riviera Orchard was never going to work. It's offering you the chance to fill out a form, with your credit card online, send off for, I don't know, astronomically overpriced, cookie dough, honey, scam jam, $14 a jar. Do me a favor. The honey's $28. It's ridiculous. Dried flowers, $14. So it's offering you the chance to buy all of it, to fill out a form, put your credit card in. If you're lucky, it'll take 3 weeks to get there, to get to you. Or you can go next door to your local grocery store, buy them all at a fraction of the price, jam, I don't know, $2-3, and walk back up to your apartment or your house, and you got it in 10 minutes for a fraction of the price. Why on earth is anyone ever going to bother with As Ever? They're not. It's a disaster. I bet you it doesn't make it to Christmas.
Thoughts and prayers to As Ever. Here's another fail on page 6's list. With love, Meghan. Season 2. I mean, there was no season 2. We're being generous in calling it 2 seasons. Meghan Markle showed up for like 3 days worth of work and knocked out a bunch of episodes that literally could have been 60-second TikToks. Are you surprised? I know the answer to this question. That with
Meghan, Kinsey, I'm not surprised that it failed. I'm not surprised it failed. I mean, I was a TV critic for 12 years. I know a bit about television programs and what makes them work. I took one look at that and said, this does not work. It just doesn't work. The sense of fakery was overwhelming. Oh, hi, here I am. Not my house. I rented it. Here's someone who's not my friend. They're getting paid, and so on and so forth. So the fakery was bad enough. Then the food she's making is just dreary. Nobody really needs tips on how to pour shop-bought pretzels into a plastic bag and put a ribbon around the top. She thinks that's invaluable advice. So it wasn't very informative, wasn't very useful, was very, very boring. and full of fakery. So you just knew it wasn't going to work. And then she goes, "It's brilliant. It was such a success. I've been given a second series." Well, we know the truth about that. They filmed the 2 series at the same time. It's an old trick in television. She was always going to get a second series because they had it in the can. Might as well show it. And then I believe that the holiday special was part of her contract. But instead of sort of changing Netflix executives' mind, it sealed her fate. I think they took one look at that pile of garbage, and just said, "Well, that's it. We don't need this woman anymore. So off you go, Meghan. And you can take your as ever nonsense with you." And now she goes, "I got a first look contra deal with
just
Netflix.
like the Obamas, just like the Obamas. I'm just like Michelle Obama."
It's yeah, well, yeah, and they got dropped as well because they're boring as well. So they another 2 people, Michelle Obama, no idea what interests people. Nice lady, I guess, but no idea how to sell stuff to the people. Same for her husband. But they so Meghan then announces, "Oh, it's really good news. I've got this first look deal with Netflix." Well, Kinsey, you and I have got a first look deal with Netflix. Everyone in the world has got a first look deal with Netflix, because Netflix, if you've got a great idea, they'll welcome you into the office. If you've got a bad idea, someone will see you. That's how these companies work. "I got this idea for a series. Come and see us." That's a first look deal. She hasn't got no deal with Netflix at all. Yeah. Just in case she's got an idea, they might have a look. That is not a contract. Her and Netflix are over.
Well, let me just mention this too then while we're on the topic, because at the bottom of this list, it says Netflix projects in limbo. In March 2026, just days before it was announced that Netflix had cut ties with Meghan's As Ever brand, it was said that nearly all of the Sussex's Netflix projects were stuck in limbo. I mean, you and I've joked about meet me at the lake for a while. Somebody's been waiting at that lake. We hope they have snacks. God knows if they've had any sort of human contact since August of 2023.
Yeah. It's now called Meet Me at the Lake. Oh, okay, then don't.
Netflix paid around $3 million for the rights to this novel. And I knew that this was bad when last year Amazon Prime got the rights to another Carly Fortune book, and it's already ready to go. And I'm like, oh, and it's a series. So that's a lot more footage that you're having to film, I imagine, and a lot more organizing than throwing together a movie. So yeah, for people asking what's going on with that, I think everybody's asking what's going on with the wedding date.
Have we ever seen a single actor connected to it, a single director? Netflix just paid $3 million and nothing has happened. To call it stuck in development hell is to flatter it too much. They just bought that and nothing has happened. And now they've got this other project allegedly with Netflix, the wedding date. And I don't see anything happening with that either. Do you?
No. And that's what this is saying, basically. Like, nobody's seeing on any of the casting websites that they're casting for it. Nobody's, doing interviews with Archewell Productions, no directors or anything like that. So I guess we'll just have to sit back and we're that skeleton meme where the skeleton's at the computer, like we're just waiting for something. Archewell Philanthropies. I'm going to read the details for this because this is interesting. Harry and Meghan essentially shuttered their Archewell Philanthropies charity in December 2025 after several key staffers abruptly left the not-for-profit organization. And then it goes on to list all those staffers, including James Holt, who was such an important part of the Sussex strategy. Anyone still there is simply an enabler, enamored with what the couple once was, not who they are today. An insider familiar with the Sussexes told Page Six. From a year ago, they have decreased their staff by 85%. It says Harry and Meghan had engaged in cost-cutting talks earlier in December, and one insider suggested that the Sussexes discussed the possibility of selling the charity off amid its money troubles. The big question was, would Archewell close, or would another charity take it over? Harry and Meghan were looking to get physical sponsor, someone to take it on, to take on the outgoing cost and keep things cheap. They added, really, it's all smoke and mirrors, which is another reason for us to get annoyed when we see Meghan put Archewell Philanthropies on her big bio to attract people to spend $3,000 to spend a weekend with her in Australia. And then there was the weird name, Archewell Foundation to Archewell Philanthropies. I think smoke and mirrors is the nicest possible way to describe this, right? This is just something that this is just virtue signaling, but I don't think they do much.
Yeah, who sells a charity? Who sells a charity? Yeah, hey, got a charity. Want to buy it? I mean,
Craigslist. They're putting it on Craigslist or eBay.
That's unbelievable. I don't know what the hell that is all about. I've never heard of a charity being sold. I mean, do people make profits out of that? That's ridiculous. No, why did it change the name from Archewell Foundation to Archewell Philanthropies? Nobody is quite sure. But the most recent accounts for Archewell Foundation's Philanthropies, whichever you want to call it, revealed that their expenses for a year had been like $5.1 million. And their donations had only topped about $2.6 million. So people are saying, well, what was that $5.1 million about? And a lot of people speculate, nobody knows, but were these the expenses for their pretend royal tours? So the big question here, well, there's a couple of big questions. First of all, why did they change the name from Archewell Foundation to Archewell Philanthropies? Why was that? Was it that they were under scrutiny for the accounting? And if, as many suspect, that $5.1 million in expenses largely went to funding the gruesome twosome, Harry and Meghan, on their pretend royal tours, private jets, best hotels, etc., then that is a bit of a scandal, because anybody who donated their hard-earned cash, their hard-earned bucks to Archewell Foundation stroke philanthropies, I don't think they would have thought, I'm giving money to this charity so that those two freeloaders can fly first class private jet to Nigeria, Colombia, and Jordan, and soon Australia, and live it up in the best hotels. I don't think that's why people would donate to charity, to any charity, particularly this one. So Christ knows what's going on with Archewell Philanthropies, but I don't like the look of it.
No, I don't either. But I do love that we're going to get plenty of content when Harry and Meghan go to Australia, because it does seem like this is a comeback tour, a Delulu comeback tour. They're not going to get, in my opinion, they're not going to get the reception that they are anticipating.
I've got an idea, Kinsey.
Should we go?
Yeah, let's get tickets. Imagine you and me turn up. That would ruin her weekend, wouldn't it? She'd go, I'm out. But I mean,
we would be out. One of Harry's big bulky security guards would have one of us in one hand and the other in the other.
Well, we know, as we know, that they're well aware of us, and we're not on their Christmas card list. But although I think we would get rumbled pretty quickly, it is a surefire, safe bet that half the people who go to this weekend with Meghan will be journalists.
Oh yeah, so we will get our intel. Don't worry, ladies and gentlemen. We will get it, but we are on their radar, so there's probably not a good chance that we could walk through the door and keep our spots.
We'll get caught, so not us, but other journalists will go.
I'm dying because I'm imagining us walking in together, but dressed like
Hi, Meg. It's us.
Dressed like Meghan. Remember when you dressed like Meghan?
Hi, Meghan. It's me.
All right. Well, agree with us, disagree with us. Let us know in the comments below. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend. And also make sure you watch Me with Kev on Drive from now on. I'm on every Monday and Thursday. Kevin O'Sullivan, thanks so much for spending time with me. You make me laugh and smile.
My pleasure, Kinsey. Anytime.
I'll see you again soon. Bye, guys.